Let's go through the meanings. Sar, a river which passes through France. Nuance, problem or burden. Couldn't give up, cannot leave. Cranky, strange, or short tempered. My books that had seemed such a nuisance a while ago, so heavy to carry, my grammar and my history of the saints, were old friends now that I couldn't give up. And M. Hamel, too. The idea that he was going away, that I should never see him again, made me forget all about his ruler and how cranky he was. Till now, Franz considered his books to be an unwanted burden, but suddenly he starts considering them to be his best friends, whom he could never leave. The writer wants to show the change in Franz's attitude towards study after hearing the news that he could not learn French any longer. And M. Hamel too had an idea he was going away, that I should never see him again. These all news, the news that their teacher M. Hamel was leaving, also had a similar impact on him. Franz did not want him to go away. He no longer thought the teacher to be short tempered and strict. Sunday clothes, the best dress that a person has. Dreadful, frightening, mixed up, confused. As you can see here, the child is dreadful or frightened. Poor man, it was in honor of this last lesson that he had put on his fine Sunday clothes. And now I understood why the old men of the village were sitting there in the back of the room. Now Franz knew that M. Hamel was wearing his best dress in honor of this last lesson. He also realized that the village men had come to pay respect and thank M. Hamel for his service of 40 years in that school. It was because they were sorry too that they had not gone to school more. It was their way of thanking our master for his 40 years of faithful service and of showing their respect for the country that was theirs no more. The village men had come to the class as they were also repenting for not have studied well in their childhood. They had come to thank their teacher for his 40 years of service as a teacher of French. Also, they wanted to show respect to the country and were sad as their mother tongue, French, would no longer be taught to them. While I was thinking of all these, I heard my name called. It was my turn to recite. What would I not have given to be able to say that dreadful rule for participles all through, very loud and clear and without one mistake? Now, the teacher calls out to Franz as it is his turn to recite the topic of participles. As the news had impacted Franz, he was eager to study and so he was desperate to show his eagerness. He wanted to be able to recite the topic in one go and without any mistake and please his teacher. His desperation is reflected in his willingness to give away all that he had in return for reciting the lesson well. But I got mixed upon the first words and stood there, holding on to my desk, my heart beating and not daring to look up. As Franz did not know the lesson, he got confused and stood quietly. His heart was beating fast as he was ashamed of himself and did not have the courage to face his teacher. Where we have come out, which means results, pretend, show, to reproach, blame. I heard M. Hamill say to me, I won't scold you, little Franz. You must feel bad enough. See how it is. Every day we have said to ourselves, Bah, I have plenty of time. I'll learn it tomorrow. And now you see where you have come out. Here we have where we have come out, which means results. Here M. Hamill said to Franz that he would not scold him as he now realized his mistake. Every day Franz told himself that he would study the next day, and now the opportunity to study has been lost. M. Hamill says that all the people of Alzey were to blamed as no one was serious towards learning. Ah, that's the great trouble with Alzey. She puts off learning till tomorrow. Now, those fellows, how is it you pretend to be Frenchmen and yet you can neither speak nor write your own language? But you are not the worst, poor little Franz. We have all a great deal to reproach ourselves with. M. Hamill says that the people of the Alzey were, were to be blamed as no one was serious towards learning. He tells the class that the enemies, which means the Prussians, would laugh at them and say that they only show to be Frenchmen as they can neither speak nor write their own language. He says that France should not feel guilty as everyone is at fault. Your parents were not anxious enough to have you learn. They preferred to put you to work on a farm or at the mills so as to have a little more money. And I have been to blame also. Have I not often sent you to water my flowers instead of learning your lessons? And when I wanted to go fishing, did I not just give you a holiday? M. Hamill says that Franz's parents were not interested in getting him educated. They wanted him to work at a farm or a mill and earn some money. He says that as a teacher, he was also not interested in teaching them. He would send them to his home to water the plants. Sometimes he would declare a holiday and go for fishing. Then, from one thing to another, M. Hamill went on to talk of the French language, saying that it was the most beautiful language in the world, the clearest, the most logical, that we must guard it among us and never forget it, because when a people are enslaved, as long as they hold fast to their language, it is as if they had the key to their prison. M. Hamill praises their mother tongue, French language, as being the most beautiful, clearest, and most logical language in the world. He tells the class to guard the language as it is the only way to free oneself from the prison of slavery. If a person knows his mother tongue well, no one can enslave him. Knowing the mother tongue well as a language is a tool to fight domination. Then he opened a grammar and read us our lesson. I was amazed to see how well I understood it. All he said seemed so easy, so easy. I think, too, that I had never listened so carefully and that he had never explained everything with so much patience. It seemed almost as if the poor man wanted to give us all he knew before going away and to put it all into our heads at one stroke. The teacher took a lesson in grammar. That day, Franz was surprised that he understood the lesson with ease. He felt that he had been attentive, and that M. Hamel also explained the lesson with a lot of patience. Franz felt that the teacher wanted to give them all the knowledge he had before leaving. Here, at one stroke means at one go. After the grammar, we had a lesson in writing. That day, M. Hamel had new copies for us, written in a beautiful round hand. France, Alsace, France, Alsace. They looked like little flags floating everywhere in the schoolroom, hung from the rod at the top of our desks. You ought to have seen how everyone set to work and how quiet it was. The only sound was the scratching of the pens over the paper. After grammar, they had a lesson in writing. M. Hamel gave the class new notebooks with France Alsace beautiful written on them. Franz felt that here was an air of patriotism in the class. The notebook were like flags of France that were floating all around. The entire class was busy writing, and the only sound that could be heard was that of the pen writing on the paper. Let's go through the meanings. Beetles, a large size insect.